We have a clear-cut hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ said, "O women, give sadaqah, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire are you women." Doesn't this clearly prove that actually there's not even an equal chance in the akhirah, because that most women are actually going to end up in the hellfire?
This is a very important hadith you mentioned. Very important hadith. The hadith, as you mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ said, all women give charity and make a lot of istighfar, seek a lot of forgiveness. For I have seen that women are the majority of the people of the fire. I think the first question we have to ask here, the hadith is a long hadith, we'll come back to it, but the first thing we have to ask is the reason that she is in the fire because she's a woman? That's not the case. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned specifically the reasons why that person is taken to the fire. Being a woman is not the reason she's from the people of the fire. Otherwise, that would apply to all women, right? The Prophet ﷺ also, he didn't specify that this relates to the Muslims either. He didn't specify particularly, but he mentioned certain things. So he mentioned takfurna al-ashir. You reject the good that your husband has done. Now we actually have a hadith in which the Prophet explains this in detail. He said, لَعَلَّ إِحْدَاكُنَّ أَن تَطُولَ أَيْمَتُهَا بَيْنَ أَبَوَيْهَا. He said, perhaps one of you would spend a long time unmarried with her parents. And then he said, وَتَعَنُسَ. And she would become really, like a woman who struggled to get married. She can't get married. فَيَرْزُقَهَا اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ زَوْجًا. Then Allah gives her a husband. Allah blesses her with a husband. وَيَرْزُقَهَا مِنْهُ مَالًا. And Allah gives her wealth from that husband. The husband spends on her. وَوَلَدَ. And a child or children. فَتَغْضَبَ الْغَضَبَ. She just becomes angry one day. فَتَقُولْ مَا رَأَيْتُ مِنْهُ يَوْمًا خَيْرًا قَطْ. I never saw any good from him ever. So he said this could be a reason why a woman becomes from the people of the fire. That she got all of these blessings from Allah, and Allah gave her a husband. After a long time, she couldn't get married. Allah gave her a husband, Allah gave her money, Allah gave her children, and then she gets angry one day and she says, I never saw anything good from you. That's not just disrespectful to the husband who did that good for her, but it's disrespectful to Allah Azza wa Jal who gave her those things. Right. I've never seen anything good. Now here, what's the job of the Prophet ﷺ? Prophet ﷺ was sent Bashiran wa Nadhira, to bring glad tidings and to warn people. He warned the men about certain things. And he's given them a solution. Give sadaqah, make istighfar, so that you're not among these people. I've seen all of these women in the fire, and they're in the fire for certain reasons. One of the things they're in the fire for, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, takthurna al-la'an, that you curse a lot. That the person, they get angry and they curse, they say, they bring the curse of Allah, a curse of Allah upon their children, or the curse of Allah upon their husband, or the curse of Allah upon people, and then it comes back upon them. So the Prophet said, I've seen this is going to happen. So I don't want you women to be one of those people. Okay. I don't want you to be like that. I want you to be different. So I'm going to tell you the solution. First of all, I'm going to tell you why it is, so that you can try to check that from yourself. And if it does happen, I'm going to tell you how to get out of it with sadaqah and with istighfar. And in reality, there are ahadith, as we mentioned, many ahadith in which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned reasons why men are from the people of the fire. We mentioned as an example the hadith of the two people being punished in the grapes. For example, do we think that most women will go to the hellfire, for example, because of riba? Generally speaking, you would say that riba, even though there are women who get involved in riba, but it tends to be many times, it tends to be men that probably do that more. And there are certain things that perhaps women do more. So for example, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that whoever guarantees for me what is between his two jaws and what's between his two legs, I guarantee for him Jannah. That's something that is characteristic or it's typical of men, right? And he's saying, you women, there's a danger for you. The danger is cursing too much. The danger is that you disregard or you are ungrateful to the blessings you've been given. And when you're ungrateful to the blessings you've been given, ultimately that's ingratitude to Allah, because He's the one who gave you those blessings. So that's how I see that particular hadith, and that's how I think it should be understood.